You're on. Thank you.
The most recent medical report about the negative impacts of sitting was released by the Mayo Clinic earlier this spring. The study confirms that it is possible to be incredibly fit, but still be at high risk for premature death and disability due to inactivity. And as we all know, air travelers are confined to cramped seats for an extended period of time. The current opportunities for air travelers before and during their layovers involves a lot more sitting, whether that's at their gates, in a bar, at a restaurant, or in airline boardrooms. Airport Gyms seeks to improve the health and well-being of air travelers, and one of the ways we want to do this is provide travelers with medical conditions like deep vein thrombosis and diabetes the chance to better control their health through exercise. We also want to give the kinetic individuals the opportunity to move and release their built-up energy, as well as give business travelers the opportunity to maximize their time and release work-related stresses with endorphins. So, for air travelers, Airport Gyms is the answer to restless legs, exhausted senses, and a quest for essential healthy foods. We provide a unique place of respite to work up a sweat, rinse off, and refuel before catching the next flight. Today, Ty and I are going to talk about our company, the market landscape, customer analysis, substitutes competitors, our business model, as well as founding, finance, and our exit strategy.
So real quickly, as we entered NVP, we had a concept of what sort of company we wanted to bring. We were going to place fitness and health centers adapted to the airport environment, and as Cynthia mentioned, specifically going after the needs of busy travelers. We were going to do this by promoting health and well-being through fitness equipment, showers, and healthy food as kind of our main value propositions. However, like many other startups, we're faced with lots of challenges. Specifically, we have to test an unproven business model. We have to convince investors and airport authorities who negotiate those leases to sign on. We need to attract customers first, and we need to recruit team members. Now, the tricky thing is we have to do these all simultaneously because the successful completion of any one of these relies on the successful completion of any of the other ones. So that is some of the biggest challenges we're up against. However, we want to move forward with our project. We've got the next several terms laid out with our class schedules so that hopefully by the end of graduation, we can offer a company whose mission is to deliver a rejuvenating, calming, and wellness-improving experience to airport patrons through healthy exercise in a refreshing environment. We aim to build core competencies in airport concessionaire management, fitness and health operations, as well as how to integrate our value proposition, such as well-being, entertainment, sanctuary, and convenience into the hectic lives of these travelers. A lot of our interviews throughout the MVP process helped sculpt this long-term path. Originally when we started it out, it had a few other forms. We're going to come back to this path at the end of our presentation, but there were several pivot points that we learned throughout our interview process, such as incorporating as an S-Corp versus an LLC through our conversation with some lawyers, as well as this very specific timeline here, recruiting an airport connection, developing a test prototype before going after the airports. We want to utilize and leverage these assets before we begin our initial conversation. So just some of the pivot points we learned through our interview processes. But first, let's get into the market landscape. What do airport concessionaires look like? Right now, in terms of air travel, airlines, and the airport industry, everything's going up. Airport metrics and performance schedules do adjust or do cycle somewhat in analogous to the general economy, but on average, every 4 out of 5 years, we're seeing year-on-year growth in every metric possible. For example, passenger volume is up. In 2012, there were 815 million enplanements within the U.S. alone. That's almost as if every person in the U.S. flew 3 times within a year. At the same point, average trip length has gone up. Planes are getting bigger, flights are longer, and they're more nonstop. Airports are high-volume traffic areas. The top 10 airports all have a minimum of 10 million passengers flying through them a year, with the top airport, Atlanta, surpassing that by 2.6 times. So there are around 26 million passengers a year in that one airport alone. Part of our MVP process was looking at our customer survey. We designed the survey to go after some specific metrics revolving around airline frequencies, behaviors, as well as exercise behaviors. Part of that survey addressed preference for airline, where we identified Alaska Airlines and Delta, which are code-share partners, as 2 of the top 3 most preferred airlines. Also to note, Alaska Airlines is rated for the 7th year in a row as the #1 airline for customer satisfaction whereas United, even though it's the second preferred on our list, was second from the bottom of customer satisfaction. The reason this is important to us is that we found key research that suggests individuals while in airports propensity to spend more money on concessionaire services drastically increases the lower their stress and the higher their overall happiness. So by following airlines with happy customers, that'll be a key advantage to Airport Gym's locations.
So to look at the customers a little bit closer, it's important to note that we're not talking about the end user first. The first customer for airport gyms will be port authorities, because port authorities control all of the businesses within airport terminals. The way that businesses get retail space in terminals is they participate in an RFP process for the port authorities, and they have to submit their business plan and show the port authorities how they're going to make money. And the port authorities generally pick the businesses that are going to make the most money, because rent is based on how much your revenue is per month, and it's not a set amount. So you want to really show them that you can add value through your business model, and our pricing model we'll get into a little bit later. But talking about the end user, the market is segmented by people that choose to fly. We're obviously talking about people that are passengers on airlines and not people on trains or buses or things like that. But the people that go through airports are typically segmented into business travelers and leisure travelers, and we do that because we want to know their motivations and their priorities and things like that. So a little bit more information about all of the air travelers. I will point out to you the bottom one. The average household income in the US is $51,000, but air travelers make on average between $75,000 and $100,000 a year. So they have more discretionary income to spend on businesses when they're traveling. Additionally, from the survey we conducted, we asked what are the two most common flying frustrations, and people identified number one, the uncomfortable seats, as I alluded to in the pitch earlier, and number two, the long layovers. So Airport Gyms seeks to help people address both of these frustrations. 70% of the people who responded to our survey also indicated interest in using an airport gym and were willing to pay on average $25 for a day pass to use our services. Looking closer at air travelers, they are commonly between 18 and 34 years old, and they're skewing towards the male demographic. And in a Mintel business survey, 54% of business travelers were self-employed. Here's just a few more facts about business travelers, but to keep the presentation moving, I want to really point out this quote to you. It's from the VP and GM of Global Client Group at American Express, and they did a large report or survey across the US, the UK, and Australia of business travelers, and they found that as millennials begin to make up a large portion of the global workforce, we're seeing more corporate employee travel behaviors that focus on alleviating travel-related stress. These travelers place a higher value on work-life balance and are savvy about how to travel efficiently. They make the most of their time on the road and maintain their mental and physical health while away from the office. And this graphic is from the survey, the results that Amex had, and you can see up here that 37% of millennial business travelers are already taking advantage of hotel gyms. So we feel that airport gyms would be a natural extension, giving them more access. Yes?
You had mentioned that, I guess, when they're going to be using the services in between flights, is that correct?
Or, I will get to that. I have a slide about when they wanted to use it.
Perfect.
So, also with leisure travelers, it's people between 25 and 34 years old who are most likely to have booked domestic travel within the last year. And they are also the most, leisure travelers participate in a lot of loyalty programs, which we'll also address later. But on average, an American belongs to 11 loyalty programs related to travel. One other customer that we're not just completely going after the end user and the airport authorities, we also have plans to contact Fortune 500 companies and sell them corporate memberships for their employees that are on the road a lot and include that in a part of their wellness package.
So let's take a look at the substitute and competitor offerings among concessionaires within airports. Currently, 2012 figures show that non-aviation related revenue is at $7.5 billion, of which a subset of that, $1.65 billion, is specifically related to concessionaire style services such as food and beverage, duty-free, other services, and hotels, of which airport gyms constitutes a fraction of all those different types of services. Some specific ones that are coming up or that have appeared in the last 5 years that are very related to Airport Gym's business model. Jamba Juice, very healthy smoothie bar. Express Spas opened about 10, 15 years ago, and we're now seeing 56 locations. And Minute Suites. Minute Suites is a brand new company. They're now in existence at Atlanta Airport for 4.5 years. Their other locations are Dallas and Philly. They have requests from 40 other airports for them to expand into their terminals. Minute Suites are basically micro hotels. They're a small size closet with a couch, a TV, and a shower for you to use, and they're available at 15-minute increments, $28 an hour up to $130 for an entire night. These guys are just absolutely killing it in the market right now. Where do gyms meet airports thus far? Good Life Fitness, a very popular brand. If you're from Canada, you've heard of them. They kind of dominate the Canadian gym industry. They recently opened a 10,000 square foot facility at Toronto Pearson Airport, and that is pre-security. They're using it as a test location according to our interviews with them. Other airports that do have gyms, O'Hare, Detroit, Vancouver, utilize the hotel services that are there to offer the air travelers service and access to the gym facility. But once again, you need to leave security in order to utilize it and even know that it exists. Philadelphia Airport, as of October of this year, just released stationary standstill bikes that are rotating throughout the terminals every 2 weeks, and these are getting rave reviews on all the air traveler blogs, as well as yoga studios for free of charge are popping up in San Francisco, O'Hare, and Dallas-Fort Worth.
So now to talk to you a little bit more about the minimum viable product that we identified. We used a lot of our survey results for this. One of the key things that we did is we asked customers to rank on a 3-2-1 scale what was required for them. Was a 3 to consider purchasing a day pass. A 2 is it would be nice to have, but I could probably manage without it. And 1 was it doesn't matter if it's there or not. So we decided for our MVP, based on these numbers here, that the top 6 were important for our minimum viable product. And those top 6 responses included cardio equipment, showers, stretching space, free weights, healthy food, TV, and Wi-Fi. The other value proposition that's most important to our business model is that airport gyms are going to be located after TSA security. People have that high stress level, they get to the airport and they just want to make it through as fast as possible because they're not sure about how long it's going to take to pass through. But once they're through, they have a lot of time on their hands usually because they get to the airport extra early, and then all that's left to really do is drink or eat or maybe do a little bit of shopping, but they're crowded shopping spaces and it's overpriced. So this gets to your answer. And we asked people when they would be most likely to use an airport gym, and we were pleasantly surprised that a lot of people were actually interested in using the airport gym before their first flight. So that changed our strategy a little bit about looking at originating airports as well, and our marketing strategy, and maybe having more on-the-ground opportunities there through traditional means and not just digital means. But before the first flight is a big one, as well as the longer layover time. And the reason most people didn't answer at all for less than 55 minutes. In our survey, we found that the average workout time was 52 minutes per person. So there you have it. And this is going to be Airport Gym's first location. It's going to be where we place our minimum viable product, and that is a picture of Seattle. So we chose Seattle because it has a lot of great benefits to airport gyms. The one that I will point out to you in this slide is that about half of the people flying through Seattle make more than $100,000 a year. So that's really important. Being in the Pacific Northwest, you know that it's also a healthy, active population that has good lifestyle habits. And it's Alaska Airlines headquarters, which is my favorite part of it. So our growth strategy for airport gyms and expansion, after Seattle, we're going to move into San Francisco first, and then go into LA and Denver simultaneously, and then we're going to go into Portland. In the third phase, after we raise more capital, we plan on expanding into the top 10 US airports, and this is all by size in terms of employment. And then in our final phase, we'll go into the top 50 US airports. So a little bit more about the customer acquisition and our pricing of our services. It's really important to understand the customer decision process. The decision type in the beginning will be explorative. People will just be going through the terminal and they'll, what's this, how, and then if they don't have their workout clothes with them, we have clothing rentals that they can purchase for a nominal fee. Then we know that the health-conscious individuals will probably be planning ahead so that they can use the gym when they're traveling. But then there's also people who might be interested in the gym just as a healthy way to kill time and entertainment value, and people that want to just get out of a busy terminal and escape from all the noise. So acquiring customers first, we need to raise awareness and we need to develop strong brand values, because once we do this, we want to make sure that we are the leader in case there are any new entrants into the market. Keeping customers, we have down the road, once we have more capital, we have plans to build a mobile application that would allow you to reserve equipment, allow you to schedule your shower time, check-in process, expedite all of that. We also have a loyalty program in the works, and we are considering partnerships with adjacent businesses, something like Minute Suites or Express Spas, and that's not necessarily bringing them into our space because it is so expensive and at a premium, but being placed next to them in the terminal. And for growing the customer base, we want to target frequent flyer programs as well as incentivize word of mouth with referral discounts for people. So the profit maximizing price points that we found when we were doing our financials is $25 for a day pass, and that was supported in both people's willingness to pay and what we found when we were crunching the numbers. The month pass was $100 and the annual pass for $400.
I'm going to finish up our presentation by talking about some of our founders and financials and the team moving forward. So, at the helm, we've got myself and Cynthia. We've been working on this project for about 11 months, and together we bring over 11 years worth of experience in program management as well as business administration. During our MVP process, we were able to speak to the CEO of Minute Suites, Dan Solomon. He said that he would be very willing and happy to be one of our advisors, so he's going to be overlooking our business plan and moving forward with us. Also, some of our interviews brought us to Chris Lincoln. He is a founder and CEO of Bar 3 gym facilities up in Portland, and he has about 15 years of experience running 24-hour fitness centers and managing regional areas for that gym. Our other three advisors that we were fortunate to have through NVP were Chris Valentine, Kane O'Brien, and David Van Wee. They bring together a combined 65 years of experience in startups, venture capital, as well as finance. However, we need to expand our team. Once again, it's Cynthia and myself. We don't plan on taking any sort of salary until we're making our first little bit of revenue, but we're going to need to add on to our team. The two of us can't do it alone. Specifically, we need an airport connection. Part of our conversations with Dan Solomon said that no matter how good your business plan is, no matter how well you're known in the startup world, if you don't have a connection at an airport concessionaire, within the airport concessionaire industry, they aren't going to listen to you. Airport managers are more worried about betting on a new business coming in and it failing and looking like an embarrassment than they are worried about getting the next business that's going to be a home run. If we don't have someone who the airport concessionaire trusts, we don't have a chance. So we need to find that person. Second individual we need to get is someone who just has experience running airport concessionaire businesses. This could be a Jamba Juice, this could be one of the shoe shine places. It doesn't matter, they just need to operate within an airport. And the third individual we need is someone with experience managing and running gym fitness centers. And then we're going to need to add staff as we expand to our third, fourth, and fifth locations. So investor involvement, we do have some guidelines that we originally laid out. I'm pointing out at the bottom section down here under raise capital. Our original pro forma financials were all based around raising $675,000 in our first round through venture capital competitions, founders as well as angel investors, then expanding into VCs for the second and third rounds of about $1 million and 1.8. However, as of an interview on Tuesday with Dan, we realized that these marks were going to be way off. Come on now. All right, let's do it that way. And that we're going to have to adjust our investor financial investment timetable. Specifically, we need to raise capital in order to get that prototype and then sell it to future investors, angel investors, larger scale VCs, as well as the airport concessionaire authorities. Then we'll have to do it again once we move into an airport, and then finally again once we expand to our fourth and fifth locations. But our financial data, yes, Omar.
How do you build a prototype not in the airport? Like, how do you validate that model?
Minute Suites did this exact same thing. They took a facility about the size of this room. Once they went under that exact same timeline, they had raised about $500,000, used that to build a prototype, find their airport concessionaire connection, and the prototype was a variety of small little rooms that they set up. They had their staff come in, they spent the night there. They did 2 different prototypes and they learned from one or the other. They ended up going with the larger one. But the key takeaway from that was, well, yes, that development of the MVP was useful. It helped them gain further investors and sell it to the airport authorities, and that's what we need to do. So that's exactly what they did. So it'd be setting it up in a place like this, and it can be with used old equipment. It can just trying to describe the general feel and the end of how it's gonna look. So as we get into our pro forma financials, we had a couple assumptions. One was that $25 an average sale price point with a slow increase of 26 and then to 28, and that's to allow for add-on services such as the smoothie bar that we plan on adding. We want to target 148 customers per day per location, which might seem like a lot, but when you're at an airport, you're open for 16 hours a day. 148 customers over 16 hours is one customer every 6 minutes. That's not that hard to attain. But we anticipate, we set the bar low and we said our first month we're going to get 33 customers and then ramp up from there over the next 6 months. So our financials all reflect that individual basis or that incremental basis going up. The takeaways from our financials, we are negative our first year, but that's to be expected. That hockey stick the mentality or that graph that we usually see with startups. Our balance sheet, assets do equal liabilities plus equity. Fantastic, we all learned that from accounting. Well, it holds true. And it's growing, wonderful. And our cash flows are always positive on a yearly as well as monthly basis. Our break-even projections, this is an intense graph, but I'm going to draw you to the bottom. That first year, this is 1 year of operation with one location. A break-even point is $700 and roughly $40,000. According to Seattle, they're seeing that according to their figures per square foot, if we had a 1,000 square foot facility, we could expect on average 1.1 million in revenue. So that means that our $740,000 break-even point, well below the anticipated revenue for that first year with nothing special. Yeah.
So I guess for a 1,000 foot facility though, for a gym with the equipment and stuff you'll have in there,
Yeah.
how many people does that accommodate if there's a 52-minute workout as what the average is?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you've...
Yeah, we've looked into diagrams and outlines and architecture sketches of what that would look like. In a 1,000 square foot facility, we should be able to fit, according to the MVP products that everyone wants, about 12 different cardio machines, another space for another 5 individuals to work out, and then at least 3 to 5 shower facilities. So we've got about double capacity of what we would need to make our break-even goal, or our goal of 148. Can I get to the exit and then we'll see if that answers your questions? So our pro forma financials, once again, these are a little off because we had to adjust our timetables, but we're expecting after just 4 years under that old investment schedule of a valuation of $15 to $20 million. The ROI does need to update, so I'm not going to show that data because we had to adjust that as of Tuesday and just didn't have time to run the numbers on it. But we anticipate that at a 10-year mark out with 25 to 30 stores, a valuation of anywhere from $180 to $300 million. Exit strategies do exist and are on the rise within the fitness center industry. Right now it's mainly through mergers and acquisitions to other gym fitness centers as well as hotels. However, if we want to stay with the company for 10 to 20, maybe even 30 years, we do have the possibility of IPOs, private equity lines. For example, Lifetime Fitness was just reacquired for $1.8 billion back in about 6 months ago. And then we have the ability of expanding into a franchise model. So we have a lot of different varieties available to us. And at that point in time, let's open up the questions.
So it kind of goes on what Charlie was saying about, so you guys are probably going with 1,000 square feet because that's the limited resource, right? And it's really expensive to have a big space at the airport. But when you're doing a membership type of thing, where I think it works with spa because when it's at full capacity, they can say, oh wait, we have full capacity, we can't take you on. But when you're doing a membership base, and you have 1,000 square feet with 5 showers, how do you ask the 6th person to wait with the membership and wait for the...
That's a very good question. So part of that is going to take some advanced planning on the customer's time to understand, okay, I've got 3 hours during my layover, can I adjust my schedule now? But we're seeing that within smaller gyms and strip malls, for example, that are utilizing a 1,000 square foot facility, they're able to accommodate this exact same issue with multiple memberships and yet a limited capacity. So we don't see it being that much of a hindrance going forward because it's already being done right now. Blake?
I believe early in the presentation you said that like we're getting bigger, longer, and more nonstop.
Mm-hmm.
And so what's...
And layover times are also increasing, and that was from some of our conversations with United Finance individuals.
Okay. So with the nonstop flights, what is encouraging your consumers, your customers, to not work out at their own gyms instead, and then work at the airport?
So, after September 11th, security went horribly wrong, and everyone started showing up to airports 2-3 hours ahead of time. And right now, current customer behaviors are still mirroring that, even though security has gotten a lot better. So what's basically happening is that there's a slight chance security is going to get messed up and you're going to need that 2-3 hours before your flight to be there on time. And so individuals are still arriving ahead of time, but they're getting security in the good time. 90% of the time, roughly, they're getting through, which is leaving on average 109 minutes after checking into security, but before someone's plane departs, that they're spending behind security. And with an average workout of 52 minutes, that's plenty of time to work out, shower, and still make it to your next gate.
And
Yeah.
is that average like decreasing rapidly, or?
We're not seeing a whole lot of change in it right now. Yeah, it's pretty stagnant. Yes?
Can you address what the Port Authorities are taking as an override? What percentage of revenues are they receiving?
The Port Authority. So right now, leases currently, it's very different at each airport. On average, we're seeing at the large hubs that a lease will cost you 18.6% of monthly revenue, and then they have a minimum annual guaranteed rate that's monetized out. So basically, you're paying a lot. We do have high costs. Yeah, you've got prime real estate, and we also have to take into consideration the electricity and utility usage, which are very high in a gym to run the treadmills, to heat the water, to bring the water in for the showers and the sewer out. But all of those are taken into consideration in our financials.
Actually, the machine should be able to run that for you.
We're looking into green machines right now. We have a trip planned. There's a green gym up in Portland that's doing that. So we are seeing individuals who are wanting to get on board of powering the bikes to pump electricity back into the grid. But we don't want to go slowly in that manner. We're trying to incorporate technology into the machines because we're seeing in our analysis of the fitness industry that individuals are utilizing basically their tablets for their customized workout, and they're streaming YouTube clips. And so we want to be able to have the machines, technology integrated, but at the same time offer the green approach.
So if you could partner with the Minute Suites, it looks like a pretty good marriage.
Yeah, Minute Suites, when they first went into this, their concept was called Fit and Fresh. And they wanted to do something very much along these lines. But when they were looking into it, it was right at the turn of the recession coming about, and their market research showed that the Minute Suite concept would be a little bit more profitable than the gym concept. So that's why when we approached the CEO, he said, you've got something there, we've already done the market research, and our research into gym industry trends in the last 6 months that we did the research has shown in the last 5 years that that's gone through the
Very
roof.
professional presentation, by the way.
Thank you very much.
John,
Yes, in the back.
Very good presentation. And, but have you looked worldwide to see, or internationally to see if this has already been introduced in other geos?
There are some major international airports that do have gym facilities. Singapore is one of them. They're kind of leading the way, but they're very high-end gyms, and they're not, you don't see them when you're walking around the main terminal. We're not going after the red carpet room, the individual who already has the secret access code card to get into that place. We want to target our first customers mainly through impulse buys. And a lot of our advertising campaign is based around that. So when you're walking on the main floor, you're going to see that offering available, which none of the other gyms are doing right now, because they're trying to do it large scale. Yeah.
Are you seeing just a bunch of like exercise bikes, or are you gonna go more CrossFit route, more functional HIIT fitness type stuff?
In terms of our airport or in terms of gym?
Of your facility.
Right now, our customers,
They really want cardio machines first. That was everybody's most pressing priority, and I think it makes sense when you think about traveling. You really just have that restless leg syndrome, and you want to get the blood flowing and the heart pumping more than. There's still definitely value to strength training, and we will have that as a space, but we want to invest the floor space mostly in cardio machines.
Cardio, shower, and stretching space, and those were the 3 highest rated MVP aspects that we wanted.
How many people were on the survey?
Right, it's a very low number. Right now it's at 150 individuals, but very few of them are our friends. We utilize LinkedIn as well. Cynthia went to some airports, flew around, had the flight attendants on the Southwest airline hand out our survey. So it's not super biased data, but it's pretty small.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So
150 though is more or less.
yeah, it's some data. We want to go at, however, a lot of that data is us just sending it out into the community. So we want to get this data or this survey into the hands of gym goers already, as well as travelers, and see when they're in the airport, what do they want. The problem is we're trying to distribute on a printed card and then have them type in a URL. So we need to figure out the distribution method a little bit better for the survey. Omar.
Since airlines are usually, they rent out their terminals and they're clustered generally together, have you talked to any airlines themselves about maybe helping you subsidize this and offering it as a package deal with their flights?
Yes, we talked to United quite a bit about that, and we would have to pay them and every other airline a heck of a lot of money. Any partnerships that an airline does right now, they're greedy for money. Delta's the only one who's making a profit margin, and the rest are just scathing by on the little bit they can. So they're trying to eke out any dollar from anyone else that they want to work with. So that's why we're thinking of doing this independently, but mirroring the Alaska hub routes along the way, trying to increase as many touch points along Alaska and Delta travelers. Yes, in the back.
Tie into the frequent flyer program stuff?
I'm sorry.
Did you tie into the frequent flyer rewards program stuff?
As part of our marketing strategy,
Yeah, use miles.
Use miles?
to purchase a pass.
Mhm.
It's not something we've expressly talked about just yet. I think once we want to test out the minimum viable product in Seattle, and then once we get to that phase 2 where we're in San Francisco, LA, Denver, and Portland, I think that's when it really makes sense to take a deeper look at promoting through potential partners' platforms.
It's our assumption that airlines, once we've got 30 or so locations, would like to utilize us as a service. If your flight gets delayed, they can offer a free membership, courtesy of the airline for them to come in and use our services. Right now, club rooms with most airlines are a revenue or a financial loss on the books, and so they're trying to stick away from partnering with us or doing anything along these lines because it's just out of their wheelhouse. But they do want to utilize our services, and so there is an attraction of having us locate within mirroring hub strategies.
A couple questions, Jeff?
Since it is so hard to get into the airport, and the authority is the one that says you get in or not.
Yeah.
Having your heart so set on just having Seattle be your first one, doesn't it seem like maybe you should be trying to get into 5 of them at one time?
Yeah, exactly. For this class, we originally designed, we said, okay, we've got to pick one to go forward with and come up with a business model. But the big picture approach is to say, what are the top 10 airports that we'd be happy going after? And that's where our airport connection team member that we're hopefully going to be able to recruit, and it might be Dan, can facilitate that process. We are looking, however, so it's Seattle, Atlanta, San Francisco, O'Hare, LaGuardia, JFK, and Denver, and LAX as the top 10 or so that we're looking at. All of those show profitability.
Yeah, for what it's worth, great idea. Probably wouldn't invest, but I would use it. It seems like it's going to take a lot of money to make this thing.
Yeah,
Cool.
it's a capital intensive project.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Excellent. Let's go. And nobody even commented on your change of clothes.
And I'm pretty sure you only own one person.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. I can't do that. Thank you all for sticking around and watching all these presentations to all the students. Great work. No matter where you ended up, you did good work. You learned a ton. This was the experience I wanted you all to have, so nice job. Thank you for that. And anybody wants to join us, Al will be buying the first round of drinks. I found out tonight during the presentations I need to go pick some stuff up for my wife and daughter, so I gotta get going. But Al will buy drinks. First round's on us. Have Rennie's. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys.
So I will survive. You're not here, but
I'm not gonna go.
What's I say? What's I say about the mind?
Okay, so you can get home soon, and I'll say, oh yeah, sure. I'll have a great day from you, yeah. Hopefully, still wants to do that presentation.
Thank you. probably not the best
You still want to take these?
Yeah.